But free speech gives you a right to be wrong. I have a right to post something that's inaccurate. I have a right to say the grass is blue.
Well, let's be.
I get death threats on social media.
If we're going to have this conversation, then let's have it.
All right, I guess no one gets to finish a sentence here anymore. Okay.
I think the point Alyssa's making here is she is a free speech.
Don't speak for her. She speaks very well for herself.
No, here's the thing. It doesn't make it, but it doesn't make it right. Will not defend to the death your right to call me. Sometimes it happens like this. Be nice.
The hosts of The View have the biggest fight amongst each other in the show's history over free speech. Now, we've seen them have spats, we've seen them have disagreements, but this is by far the biggest fight amongst each other that they've ever had. Like, I don't know how these ladies are gonna go back to working with each other after this one. And what they're fighting over is Facebook's new announcement that they're going to move towards being a platform centered around free speech and not suppression. And The View loses their minds over this. They state blatantly and clearly that they are not fans of free speech. They are not supporters of free speech. And it exposes a truth we've all known about the people on the left, that they do not support American values. They do not believe in the ideals of the Constitution. Now let's dive into this because this descends into chaos quickly. Watch.
I'm just curious because human rights activists warn that this is a major step back that'll have misinformation, conspiracy theories, and bigotry running wild on the site. My question is, when did fact-checking become a bad thing?
Since Donald Trump became president.
Yes.
Let me stop her there. Fact-checking became a problem when it became a term that means silencing and suppressing any opinion that does not fit the extreme woke left narrative. Facebook already came out and admitted that they suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story because the FBI told them to, that they suppressed any content that was contradictory to the vaccination mandate, that they suppressed any kind of content that questioned the radical gender ideology. But let's get back into it.
I'm going to just reject the fact that we don't know what a fact is.
Really?
I reject it outright. There is a difference between opinion and fact. And there is, journalists, like people that are, work for the New York Times, they know how to fact check. Journalism students are taught you fact check 3 different sources.
Journalists have gotten things wrong, though.
So this notion that, the reason that they're doing this is because, they can't fact check it.
But free speech gives you a right to be wrong. I have a right to post something that's inaccurate. I have a right to say the grass is blue.
Facts are different.
That shouldn't be taken down simply because it's fact, not true.
Disinformation is different. And so I think what you're finding is this company is also getting rid of content restrictions on topics like gender identity and immigration. Calling women, by the way, household objects is now permitted on Facebook.
But do you think it shouldn't be as well?
Users are now allowed to, for example, refer to women as house. I just wanted to put a button on what I was saying. There's a difference between free speech and hate speech, and we know that. Free speech, I welcome. I think everyone welcomes. It's your constitutional right. When you start delving into hate speech, which is what is happening all over social media, there's a problem with that. When you start delving into misinformation and disinformation, there's a problem with that. Meta's new hate speech guidelines permit users to call people in the LGBTQ plus community mentally ill. That is harmful.
Isn't it so rich coming from Sunny Hostin that she says that we know what facts are versus opinions when she states opinions as they were facts so often that her network requires her to read a legal note almost any time she opens her mouth. Now, Sunny's in a lot of hot water because she exposed her husband live on The View for committing insurance fraud, and now he's being sued for that very thing in a RICO case. But we'll touch on that at the end of the video. Her saying Meta allows people to call housewives household items or allows them to call transgender people mentally ill. What's the problem with that? That is free speech. You are allowed to say what is on your mind. These people literally have a Stalin-esque approach to how to control people. Do they not understand that the reason free speech is so important is because the moment you start trying to moderate any kind of speech, it's then up to a person to decide what speech is allowed or isn't. And that person inherently is going to disallow the speech that they disagree with, that doesn't fit their narrative, that doesn't help them control and retain power. It's a dangerous game to play. Now listen to Alyssa explain to these clowns that you have a right to be wrong. You have a right to share your opinion. And this is where it really starts descending into utter chaos. Watch.
What does free speech have to do with fact-checking?
Because it's imperfect. It's not as simple as the sky is blue, the grass is green. We know the facts on that. Sometimes it comes into opinions or viewpoints. This is still a town square. I tend to be a free speech absolutist as long as it's not harming someone else.
We know the difference between an opinion and a fact. We do it every day.
A lot of this can be viewpoints where somebody could say, well, this is my viewpoint on it, and there were moderating things around language you used around certain issues. Conversation here. So this is actually more complex than we're making it, but on the free speech of it, and I actually agreed with Mark Zuckerberg, of course there's pressure because Trump's coming into office, but I do think that there's a cultural and societal desire to be able to talk about things openly, and actually liberals used to be the ones who were super pro-free speech. The famous saying goes, I disagree with what you're saying, but I'll defend to the death your right to say.
Yes,
so
but I will not defend to the death your right to call me.
Here.
Sometimes it happens like this. Be nice. She didn't talk for 20 minutes.
And I always like hearing to say.
Go ahead.
But that's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm trying to make the point that hate speech, something that incites violence, is not legally ever protected under the First Amendment. My ability to say a housewife is a household object, I can say that. It can offend you. I don't agree with it, but you absolutely, under the First Amendment, have a right to say it. And the fact that we're policing speech because it makes people uncomfortable or they don't like it or it offends them, I don't think it's how we're
somebody, if somebody decides, as they do often on these social media places, to call me a
don't even say the word.
Well, let's be.
I get death threats on social media.
If we're going to have this conversation, then let's have it.
All right, go ahead.
Because if we're going to do that, we have to do that.
So Whoopi's under the impression that she has the right to not be offended, to not be called names. These people are giant children. You're supposed to teach kids to have thick skin, to go out into the world and be prepared for it to be harsh, for not everything to be exactly how you want it to be, that people don't have an obligation to coddle you and to make you feel safe and make you feel good. And when you're talking about having the government come in and police what people are allowed to say and think, you're talking about an ideology that has supported some of the worst atrocities in human history. But let's continue, because this is when the show essentially just turns into a giant screaming match. Watch.
There are certain things where we all agree, boy, you shouldn't be saying that. That is not curbing your free speech. It's asking you to, not you, asking one to respect the fact that people don't want to hear that word when it has to do with them, or Native Americans or women,
there's also
or
an
any of
element
these
of
things.
Used to be under the hateful
that's my
guidelines,
point.
But by the way, there is
gone.
an element of choice that comes into this. I would never subscribe to somebody who would use that language or who would incite
No, but you're on a site that says now, maybe it's okay to say
it wasn't before.
Well, you guys were focusing on hate speech, but some of the beginning things they did were Facebook removed all content that said COVID was a man-made disease. There was a group of people claiming it was, and they were considered off limits. Now it's debatable, and they released that. So my point is, there's a difference between the obvious awful stuff you're talking about, but it's shutting down conversations, which that's the point.
And again, some things are black and white because you don't have all the facts.
Yes, but not everything is black or white. And the things that we know are black and white are the things that we can say, you know what? You don't need to do this, because we've decided collectively as a group of human beings that we're going to respect, because they always talk about respect. If you're going to respect people, there are certain things I want you to say. If you run the thing, say, I'm not going to accept that.
What world are they living in where they think that respect is mandated, where they think that acceptance is mandated, where they think that someone has to like you? This is America. I can dislike you for any reason. I can disrespect you for any reason. It might not get me far in life, but that is my right. Woke policies are so concerned with not offending people, with not hurting people's feelings. And that's why we're in the world of problems that we are today, is because they treat the entire world like some child's playground who should be told by mommy government how to behave and what they can say. Now listen to Whoopi, a former comedian, say that comedians should not be allowed to offend people or make fun of people, and then Joy Behar say that free speech is white supremacy. Watch.
What if it's in a rap
wait a minute,
lyric? What if it's something that's in a comedy sketch? Oftentimes, language is used in comedy that's represented on social media.
No, you don't hear,
it.
You don't hear it very much on social media. You're not allowed to do it in comedy.
But that's not a good thing. I don't think silencing speech.
You can't just go out there and
yes, there are some times.
I'm not saying calling people names. I'm saying some of these words that they're saying are protected.
Can I say something? There was a time when there were cartoons when I was a kid, right? And they would make fun of Italians. What's the matter, you? You know, he's everybody was a pizza maker.
Yeah.
And I, as a child, I felt like that was offensive to me.
Yeah.
So I understand. I have empathy for people who don't like it. When you are making fun of their group in a nasty way.
Right.
Now, the people who are doing this are not from minority groups. They're from majority groups. And so
this is not me saying that
every
every person at this table gets hate speech directed at them every day. No one is.
All right, I guess no one gets to finish a sentence here anymore. Okay.
This is why the left has a major problem, because it's not like they have a competing way of fighting for a better America. Their entire platform is outright anti-American. They want to destroy American culture, the fundamentals of American society. They think we're bad and evil, and they're advocating for a system that is completely at odds with American freedom. That's why the Democrat Party needs an entire cleanse. I've never understood why Democrats advocate for socialism and communism in a country that is not about that. There are countries like that you could move to and advocate for those policies there. I bet these same people wouldn't be in favor of Christians going to Muslim countries and trying to indoctrinate them in their lifestyle and change their culture. They would say respect the differences, diversity, racism, imperialism. But here, it's like, let's fundamentally uproot everything this country is supposed to be about and built on and create a socialist hellhole where speech is policed and censored. Now, this final portion is absolutely brutal. I'm pretty sure they had to cut the feed because this was just going to turn into a boxing match if it was not controlled. Watch.
I think the point Alyssa's making here is she is a free speech.
Don't speak for her. She speaks very well for herself.
No, but and I'm not doing
we
that.
We all act like we're for free speech when it's the things we like. When somebody wants to defend the free speech of people we disagree with,
that is not true. I don't want you calling me. I don't want people to call.
Comedy needs to be able to push limits.
Listen, comedy does push limits, but be smarter in your comedy. You don't need to offend me to be funny. I don't need to offend you to be funny. And so there are
tends to be offensive and push
that's actually not necessarily true. The best comedy doesn't always tend to be offensive. It just doesn't.
Okay, but there are countries in Europe who have modified the way they're allowed to talk about people.
Yes.
I actually support some eliminations on hate speech.
Yeah.
Which makes me not an absolutist, but I'm okay with it.
Because there are things that we collectively can say, we respect everybody's right not to be called a name. If you take that away and you allow that, it's a problem.
They didn't allow it before, and they allow it now, and they allow it now.
It's not a good thing.
It never really existed on any platform I've been on.
Donald Trump.
There's never been a social media platform that's existed where you can't call people names. I've been called names on every platform that didn't exist.
But here's the thing: it doesn't
Donald Trump,
it doesn't make it right.
But let's say facts, not say because Donald Trump got elected, now you can call names on social media. That's just not true.
Whoopi literally said people have a right to not be called a name. And these are the people trying to talk politics. The world is hard and it's rough. And if you can't deal with it, then sit inside all day and be a crybaby. But you can't have the government enforce that everybody kisses the ground that you walk on because it makes you feel better. If I was Alyssa, the check that I get from The View would not be worth coming into work every day and losing brain cells hearing these other women talk. Now, the final thing that I want to show you is Sunny Hostin's husband is getting sued in a RICO case for a massive insurance fraud scheme. And here she is a few weeks back exposing him live on TV. Watch.
Only about 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system. And, you know, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, you know, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do. So there are a lot of problems with it.
So basically the two things that he's being accused of doing is operating on people who insurance had previously denied and said that they wouldn't pay for, and then going and suing those insurance companies to collect payment. The second thing that he's doing is taking people who have minor injuries and referring them to a surgical facility for operations they don't need because he was getting kickbacks from that clinic for the people that he referred to them. So he was overcharging insurance in one area and then operating on people insurance had already denied and then suing them afterwards to collect payment. But let me know what you guys think of this insanity down in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed watching this epic fight, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video, and I will see you guys in the next one.